Good evening and welcome. The May 3rd Calaveras Council of Governments meeting, regular meeting, is now in session. I'd like to ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial and will be acted upon by the council at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or interested party may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda for further discussion. Do we have any consent agenda items wished to be pulled by the council? Any public?
Item number 2, please.
Any other items? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
I would move the balance of the consent agenda.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Muniz, a second? Second. Councilmember Catalano, any further discussion? All those in favor of approving items 1, 3, 4, and 5?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. Item number 2.
Good evening, everybody. Kathy Topol. Last meeting, I brought up the fact that the executive committee meeting was getting meals when they meet. And also on this month's receipts for reimbursement is also a PACC and COG meeting. I'm not sure what PAC stands for. I am under the understanding that federal money cannot be utilized for meals. I'm also under the understanding that the executive committee already gets a extra little bit of money to attend those meetings. So this is the second time within the last 2 months that we've seen an expense report that these expenses have been on here, and I would really like an explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Jim? Should I answer or?
I would just say that all of the charges on the CAL card for the month of March are within COG's policies and procedures.
Okay. If you want to, let me address it one other instance. The meeting, the executive management group meeting that was held during a lunch hour. The staff and the folks that were on that meeting were asked to come in during their work day to come in at a lunch meeting, and it was just a benefit to try and get everybody together at one time. We had the city council, city manager from the City of Angels, the CIO from the county, as well as the chair and the vice chair from the COG. It was a full day that we already had, and we were just trying to get everything done. It was a courtesy done, and again, it was in the purview of the procedures and policies of the council to just try and make it a reasonable lunch meeting for us. It was a working lunch, so that's why we did that.
Again, federal regulations do not allow funding for meals. And how was this dispersed? And if you're already getting a stipend for attending those meetings, why would you also include lunch? And again, this is only the second time we've seen this. How many months does it happen? You said you had a special meeting. It happened the previous month. So I just think it needs to be looked into. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No federal money was used.
Okay, just a point of clarification, no federal money is used. Okay.
Chair, as an additional explanation, the county's policy is that should you work through lunch, that lunch shall be provided. It is part of our policy. So this is really not in conflict with even the county's stated policy.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Mouse. Having said that, do we have approval of item number 2 of the consent agenda?
I so move.
Second. Second by Councilmember Fullendorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
7-0. Agenda item number 6, Public comment. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. Comments shall be limited to items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council, but not on the posted agenda. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 7. Item number 7, the minute order approving amended policies and procedures as recommended by the triennial performance audit. Ms. Raggio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff requests the COG approve the organizational policies and procedures manual as amended. A draft was submitted to the council at the April 5th meeting for review and comment, and staff is asking for approval today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Melissa, were there additional comments that were presented during the interim?
I brought this up at the TAC meeting and asked for any comments in writing before a certain date. I haven't received any comments as of the time of the agenda was distributed.
Council has reviewed the...
Council also has reviewed all of those changes.
Any further council comments? Any public comment?
Jeff Krowitz, Public Works. As I mentioned at the last meeting, it was my understanding that agenda items brought before this council should be vetted through the TAC, as described in the policies and procedures. At the last TAC meeting, we had a discussion concerning the proposed changes to the policies and procedures, but the discussion really focused around my understanding or misunderstanding that the policy and procedures have been segregated from the JPA, and therefore the approval of the policy and procedures lies with this body. And so the question that I asked at the prior council meeting was, what is the procedure for vetting changes to policies and procedures? Because it's not contained in the policies and procedures. Is it reviewed by all of the committee groups that make up the COG representative organizations or not? Does it go through the executive management group? And how much vetting is done here? This specific item was theoretically to address recommendations in the triennial audit. And so my question at the last meeting again was, how do these proposed changes, good or not good, or necessary or unnecessary, and I think they probably are necessary because we haven't touched these policies and procedures at least since 2011. How are they addressing the recommendations in the triennial audit? I asked for that at the last council meeting, but so I was hoping to hear that again. And the reason I'm asking for these kinds of things is that as a member of the TAC and as a member of the participating organization with the COG, as Public Works Director, if me as Public Works Director is going to represent my Board of Supervisors and report back to them, what is my methodology of reaching out to them, querying them if they would like changes to the policy and procedures, in spite of the fact that we have 2 members on this board. So I'm looking for how it's done. So, thank you.
Thank you. So the policies and procedures, if you look at the first page, they have been amended since 2011. Every amendment goes before the Executive Management Committee, which is the chair, vice chair, the county CAO, and the city manager. They have a higher level, purview of what is going on at the city and county. They have vetted every change. After the council or the group committee reviews, we bring it to the council for full discussion, and that's the process.
Okay.
This doesn't go back in front of the soups, and it doesn't go back to the soups or the city council?
No, it was separated from the JPA back in 2011 because it's delineating policies to the COG staff organization.
Now, there's nothing that prevents either the supervisorial members of the council or the city council members of the council to bring forth recommendations and or changes. As noted by Ms. Raggio, it's actually been amended, it looks like about 9 times since 2011. It doesn't have to be solely related to the triennial performance audit. It can be also other issues that your council, having reviewed these policies and procedures, would like to have you as the representatives bring forth to the COG council. If you'd like to have future changes done, there's nothing that says it has to wait. Just bring it up, we'll agendize the issue, publish it as we've done before, review it, have council look at it, and go from there.
These are all internal, essentially all internal procedures. One of the purchasing issues that you brought up several meetings ago is correct. Recall that it required the board of supervisors
Yes.
to approve strictly contracts. So that's one of the things that was changed. But it's all essentially internal business process.
So, having said that, do we have a motion to approve the amended policies and procedures recommended through the triennial performance audit?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember. Seconded by Councilmember Catalano. Further discussion by the council? Any further public comment? All those in favor? Approved 7-0. Item number 8, minute order ratifying the programming changes to the fiscal year 16-17 Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Act, CMAQ funds in the amount of $406,168. Ms. Reggio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff is requesting approval of programming changes to the fiscal year 16-17 CMAQ funding. If you look at the chart on page 116 below, this is funding coming from the San Andreas Sidewalk Gap Fill Project and being moved to the Mount Ranch Road and Government Center Drive. This funding is in the fiscal year of 16-17. So the request from Mr. Krovitz was submitted to Caltrans and has been amended in the FU. Anyone have any questions?
Okay. Council, any comments, questions?
I am a little concerned with moving funds off of the Highway 49 corridor and the potential that if we are not eventually going to move on that project, that it would cause a deallocation and then the associated costs with that. So I just want to be sure that we are not putting ourselves in a position here we're going to be giving money back simply because we moved off of the corridor.
It's my understanding that the Mount Ranch Road Government Center project is in full swing and is in progress right now, and they needed this money for the attached reasons where he described additional scope changes.
Did you?
Is it time for me? Okay. Jeff Krovitz, Public Works. The two projects here under discussion, the San Andreas Gap Fill project was to install sidewalks along State Route 49 near the Patio Inn and then going around the corner down towards the high school. With the active gateway corridor study that we're currently performing in San Andreas right now, there are proposals for other crosswalks on State Route 49, especially in that area, the high school and the post office. So it was in a planning phase. It hadn't gone beyond a planning phase, and CMAQ funds will expire and we'll have to give back if not expended within a certain amount of time. The Mountain Ranch project, which is a sidewalk project as well as the improvements to the Pope and Mountain Ranch Road intersection project, is in full environmental documentation phase, needed additional monies to complete the environmental document and move ahead to the construction phase. So speaking with Supervisor Tofinelli, I felt that it was better to have a complete project that was closer to construction than to have a project that was incomplete and still in the planning phase. There is not a risk of us losing these funds as long as we expend them in a timely manner within our current schedule of the Mountain Ranch Road project. Additionally, I have added some scope of work to the Mountain Ranch Road project to install a pedestrian-activated crosswalk with advanced warning signals on Mountain Ranch Road between Government Center and the hospital, so that people coming to Government Center to our transit stop do not have to walk all the way up to Highway 49, cross at a crosswalk there, and then come back down the opposite side of the street to get to the hospital. So, and that particular project, the San Andreas Sidewalk Project, is a multi-funded project, and it includes Rule 20A funds, which are funds for undergrounding through PG&E collections, and it also includes environmental mitigation funds from the courthouse and jail project that was completed in 2014. Any questions?
Thank you.
Are you satisfied, Supervisor Mills?
Yes, sir. I'll just,
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, I'm just concerned, I live here in San Andreas, and I see, the high school and the need to have a crosswalk between the high school and the post office for the kids to get across that street. I see a lot more kids walking these streets than I would think a lot of people who are walking from the government center around to the hospital would be entailed. I'm sorry to see $400,000 taken away from a project that would benefit the high school kids and the town at large for something local that's already here, that had already been completed and built to a large degree already. Are there any other foreseeable government project needs that are going to pop up and start pulling money from CMAQ or others, or the sources away from other projects that the county has in other locations within San Andreas or elsewhere?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean, I agree with you that there is absolutely a need to be able to have a crosswalk across State Route 49,
Right.
especially in the neighborhood of the high school and the post office, because there's so many origination destinations.
There's a lot of traffic there.
And there's a lot of traffic. The problem, of course, is that we have a fairly comprehensive corridor study right now that will be brought in front of this board that talks about how do we slow the traffic down in the corridor, how do we make accommodations for pedestrians, how do we make sure that when we do install a crosswalk, it is ADA compliant, which it can't happen right now because of the crown of the roadway. So there's all kinds of planning. To put money into an environmental document and construction for that, the high school, the GAP project, the GAP infill project, never contemplated a crosswalk across 49. So I haven't taken anything away. The need was there, the need remains, but even though the CMAQ funds were on the GAP fill project, there was still not a solution for a crosswalk across 49. So nothing has changed from current, and I'm not sure if that was where you were going, or were you thinking that there might be another county government project or a county project that potentially would take other CMAQ funds away?
I'm just concerned only that this council, a year ago or longer, approved $400,000 for the sidewalk project at the high school intersection. Now we're taking that $400,000 and moving it over to the county area over here on Mountain Ranch Road. Eventually, when that corridor study is done, we're going to need that funds to take care of the issues around that high school sidewalk project to get people across the road.
Absolutely correct.
And up until now, we've represented to the public that we had $400,000 moving in that direction. Now we're changing gears. I'm just concerned that we don't have any other future gear changes in the works.
I don't have any. I'm continuing to work with COG to develop planning grants and construction grants for what we consider to be the highest pedestrian needs throughout the county. And some do better than others. I mean, right now, it seems like the Murphys area is getting more attention than Valley Springs, unfortunately. But that's how the grants are coming right now. And again, the more we can bundle, in other words, more we can do a multi-agency project bundling, the higher the likelihood of achieving grant funding for these projects are. So an isolated sidewalk project along 49 and then going down toward the high school, is not going to be as easily funded for construction or even planning an environmental document as would a corridor project be when Caltrans is doing a project and the county is doing a project.
Okay.
Okay?
I had the same concerns you had, John, with the conversation when you brought this to me. There was a couple issues. One is the funding going away by the time we even get that project in a phase that it could be constructed in. We'd lose the money. The second thing is we don't know what Caltrans' proposal is at this time to fix the highway, whether we go forward with this $406,000 project and find out that we got to tear it out when Caltrans comes through, grinds down, fixes the crown or what. We don't know what the elevations are going to be, where it's going to happen. And I share your concerns also, and the concerns that I had about it was the perfect intersection to put crosswalks and a stoplight up because of the situation in the mornings, in the afternoons with the kids. So it was a way, and I had these conversations with the men, it was a way on either side, where we're going, do we lose the money? Do we put it together here and now, and then after we do the corridor study, and we get with Caltrans and their fix for the highway, which I understand is gonna be sometime in the next 4 years, 3 or 4 years. That we get a project that's gonna be viable in there and not a waste of money. I had the same concerns, same conversation.
We don't have a project for the Crown yet. And essentially, that will be a priority when the corridor study is ready to take that to the program manager and get that in the pipe. But I can't tell you it's a 4-year or 10-year or anything better than that. It's certainly our intention to work with the county to move forward with that. So, just to clarify.
Well, hopefully it is a priority because when you resurfaced and did both sides of the highway, you left it out because
Yeah,
of the
I
Brown
don't think
thing.
there's a
So-
problem. I just can't tell you that it's in a pipe in 4 years or anything
Right.
like that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Supervisor Tofinelli. One other piece of information is that County and PG&E are currently working on another, we actually have 3 active Rule 28 projects going right now. And so there is a second Rule 28 project for this area. They are beginning design on undergrounding within the funds that are available to the county. That undergrounding project, when done, will give us the possibility of having legal sidewalks because we won't have poles in the way. And it would also simplify the curb and gutter installation. So we are working in the direction that you want to go. And then the last comment I'll make for you is statistically, pedestrians are safer out of a crosswalk than in a crosswalk. Because there's a presumption of protection inside of painted lines, whereas if pedestrians tend to cross outside of a crosswalk, there is no presumption. They're not a deer in the headlight. They are actively aware, and they tend to be safer.
Having crossed that highway, there's a lot of deer in the
It's a-
headlights regardless.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, but that's one of the things when you have State Highway as Main Street, which we do here in San Andreas, and we also do in Murphy's, so, and we do in Angels. Well, David does.
Thank you. Any further public comment on item number 8? Any further council comment?
Well, being that we are taking the funds away from that, and there is other potential projects that we're looking into, it probably is best to bundle all that together and try to get the maximum funding out of wherever sources we can receive them from. So I'll move for this agenda item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. Agenda item number 9, approving the allocation instructions for fiscal year 16-17 local transportation funds in the amount of $40,694 to the Calaveras Council of Governments Overall Work Program, Amendment number 2. Ms. Reggio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff is requesting the council approve allocation LTF funds in the amount of $40,694. This action was taken by the council at the April meeting in the approval of the budget amendment and the overall work program amendment. These are now the allocation instructions needed to submit to the county auditor for processing. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council? Any public comment? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Public comment?
Yes.
He just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, moved by Councilmember Catalano, seconded by Councilmember Fullendorf. Any further questions?
It's been a senior moment.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. Agenda item number 10, approving a revised fiscal year 16-17 STA or State Transit Assistance allocation instructions to the Calaveras County Public Works Department from $189,455 to $153,665 for transit operations. Ms. Raggio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I've stated in the staff report, the County Public Works Department submitted their STA claim to the council in December. The council approved the allocation instructions in the amount of
$455.
$455, and the state controller's office came back with a revised estimate that was provided to the County Public Works Department. They went back to the Board of Supervisors and amended their budget. So right now, we're amending the allocation instructions. Does anyone have any questions?
Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Mudis, seconded by Councilmember Catalano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. Item number 11, approving the fiscal year 16-17 local transportation funds LTF claim to the Calaveras County Public Works Department for transit operations in the amount of $538,264. Ms. Raggio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like you said, staff is requesting approval of Resolution 1725, authorizing LTF funding for a claim for operations to the County Public Works Department in the amount of $538,264. This is based on an annualized actuals methodology. The claim submitted totaled $620,000. If you look at the backup documentation, the budgets to actuals, per the TDA, staff can't recommend an allocation that exceeds actual expenses. So if the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Council.
So, Ms. Raggio, with this 538, we've had 312,000 before. Is there any federal money that's sitting in the background that we haven't tapped yet?
In regards to the Public Works Department and collecting their federal funds, to
Yes.
my knowledge, they haven't received, if you look at page 164 of the packet, and it's line item 4506, federal funds in the amount of $250,000 hasn't been collected. So
What page was
this
that again?
council approved,
164?
sorry, 164.
Line item 4506.
So at the April council meeting, this council approved allocation instructions totaling $312,000. This action would approve a claim for $538,000. STA, as it comes in quarterly, if they receive their federal funding, as STA comes in, I've been paying the county. So they will receive the total $153,000. It's just based on when they receive their federal funding.
Is there a possibility that the 250,000 you speak of will not be received within this fiscal year? Is it a
could speak to
possibility?
that. Yes, it's a possibility.
Okay,
According to the county auditor, she verified these numbers for me.
thank you.
Further council comment? Any public comment?
Jeff Krovitz, Public Works. I am assuming that there is concern, especially among the Board of Supervisors, that transit could be in a position as it was last year, being forced to take a loan from the county general fund. And this year, the county general fund is much more stressed than it was the previous year, as we've continued to move towards Disasterville. I wanted to assure the board that, of course, it's an assumption that the projections given to us by the state on the STA of $153,000 will be received before the end of the fiscal year. There is also the assumption that this LTF claim will be paid. There's also the assumption on Public Works that the $312,000 that was approved by the COG board at the last meeting will also be paid. And there is lastly an assumption that 3 FTA funds, FTA grant funds that we get through Caltrans will also be paid through the end of the fiscal year. And those 3 are in an amount of exceeding, somewhere in the 270, was it, Kelly? 290? Anyway, she'll come up with that number pretty quickly, but I guess the bottom line is that the funds that we are expecting to make transit whole that are coming in are estimated to be greater than the amount of our end-of-year expenditures. If there is a problem with this funding that's essentially been projected by the various state agencies, either as pass-through for federal or as representatives of federal, we feel like we're whole. But again, if STA doesn't pay to their estimate, there could be a problem. If Caltrans doesn't pay on the FT 5311 and the 5311F program, which the claims have been in for a number of months now, then there could be a problem. But we're not going to know until we get a little bit closer. So,
I guess what I'm looking for is that we started off the year in a negative, having borrowed against the general fund last year, this fiscal year, and to ensure that we won't be in that position going into the next fiscal year should be the ultimate goal. And it's just to express that to the public so everybody knows we're doing our best to make this a zero balance at the end of the year.
or hopefully a small amount of cash carry. To that end, Supervisor Mills, we are currently preparing next year's LTF claim that we are hoping to present to COG this week, by the end of the week, so that it can be processed at the June meeting. Because as you know, this group goes dark in July. That's correct. So part of the problem with the previous borrow last year was borrowing to make the previous year whole, and there were some problems getting the claims paid for a number of reasons. So we are doing what we can to prevent that from happening again.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together early rather than later in the fiscal year for next year. That's going to make a big difference in how we handle our budgetary process going forward. So it's very critical to do that, and I appreciate your effort.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Questions from the city?
Did you bring your checkbook, Dave?
We gave it the office. It was mentioned regarding cash carry. That hasn't been talked about before. So in essence, if there's a cash carry, that assumes that there's over and above a number of dollars of transit. And where is that money going to go, and how is that money going to be received? Because we haven't heard anything about a cash carryover or something that how says, does that help the LTF? Does that help STA? How does that come into play?
The cash carry wouldn't be funding that came from the COG. It would be received from the FTA. And it's based on their invoices that they're already incurred the expense and they're requesting reimbursement from FTA. So what COG is allocating isn't going to be part of the cash carry. It's already in a negative balance. So COG has already paid the $312. That has been processed. they'll hit the fourth quarter. So it'll be able to be posted before she officially closes. But none of the cash carry will be COG funding. So
then
when they fill out their claim and it shows the cash carry, and it'll be very, very minimal.
So, but even so, that means in the next fiscal year that they're going to need less money because of the cash carry, is that
They
correct?
reflect the cash carry on their claim.
But is that a specialized, where it goes, or is that is that just the money that falls into the transit operations, and then as they're claiming for LTF and STA and 5311, that cash carry is there. So there could be a potential that they draw less LTF because they have a cash carry.
No.
No.
Well, I don't project the cash carry will be anywhere over $50,000. I think it'll be a very small amount, and it won't be considered LTF STA funding. I think it will be considered the $250 that they're waiting to receive. They've already spent the LTF and STA for this fiscal
Right,
year.
I understand. But what I'm saying is that if coming into 17-18 and there is a cash carry of $50,000 that we're assuming, at least from my perspective, I'm assuming that they're $50 above of everything they spent. So now, when coming into 17-18, let's just say it's at $50,000, there could be additional fundings. They wouldn't need additional $50,000 LTF or STA because they've got that carryover, correct?
The county auditor certifies the claim and verifies the carryover. So we're good in that instance. The whole council, all of us here, will see what the cash carry is and decide on what they're claiming in LTF for that 17-18.
Okay. All right.
So for agenda item number 11, we've had council comment, we've had public comment. Is there further public comment? Seeing none, do we have any further council comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Mills, seconded by Councilmember Catalano.
I don't know.
Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved 7-0.
It doesn't matter.
Mr. Kurvitz, where did you go? County report. Right now it's the county report. We can switch it around if we...
Yeah.
Why don't we switch it around? Let's do the transit report. Ms. Mullen.
Evening, Deborah Mullen from Calaveras Transit Public Works. I brought a little stack of fare shuttle schedules for you. Take as many as you think you can distribute at the events that you'll be going to in the next couple weeks. The shuttle this year is going to be just between Angels Camp and the fair. So pretty regular on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no Sunday bus. It'll be $1, and it's going to coordinate pretty well with the rest of the route, so people can come from Ride Transit to the fair. Last year we offered it for free. We used LC Top funding, state low carbon funding to support that, but we don't have that this year for that purpose. In other transit news, we received news this week that our grant application for FTA 5310 funds for a replacement bus has been scored high enough to be successful. So will be the last bus replacement. We have one bus that's that we've had around for 7 years now and has quite a lot of miles on it. So, but it'll be probably a year before we actually take delivery of that bus, of the new one. But we're good with our fleet right now, so that's all good. Just regular routine reports and claims and such, working hard to get those claims in that we'll get the funds all delivered this year. Be happy to answer questions, ask them to.
Council?
And also to sign up you guys for the fair, to provide
Supervisor Tofanelli and Mills have signed up, and we'd be happy to have you. We're having the fair booth this year is a combination Public Works, Integrated Waste, and Transit will be all things Public Works. It's Public Works Week. So it's kind of a fun time just to talk to visitors and residents and make sure everybody knows all the things that we do.
So how much is parking at the fair this year?
I don't know, usually $5, and it's a benefit for the Lions or the Boy Scouts, so I don't want to take away, but it really is a convenience to park in the shopping center parking lot and take the bus, and then it takes you right to the gate.
It's not the cost of the parking, it's washing your car afterwards.
Yeah,
Does Mercedes take a little more time?
Well, you know.
and there's so much walking at the fair that it's kind of nice just to eliminate
Put you right there.
one part of it, yeah.
Deborah, the new transit routes have been in play for a month now. Do you
The-
have
the
an
new-
initial sense?
I don't have, well, I have a sense that things are running smoothly. There's been very few complaints. We're observing some opportunities that we can tighten things up. I don't want to say too much because I don't have I don't have the data yet. I don't have the April report in hand yet. And next month I will, but it'll still be a little early to make any conclusions. But we're getting a sense, starting a list of adjustments that might be well to make. The route between Angels and Copper towards the end of the day, if the drivers are going out there, there's nobody going to Copper, they're not going. So that one might evolve to an on-demand route, but still can't quite say just yet. And the on-demand, people are learning about it. The bus from San Andreas to West Point, which is on-demand, people are calling and using it, not all of the days. So that's good that we're not sending empty buses. So.
Chair, Deborah, I do have a question, and it's only because I haven't stopped and looked. For those bus stops that are in an on-demand area, is there signage in those to tell people how to do that?
We really do lack signage on all the stops. Where we do have the shelters and the bus stops, we do have the instructions as part of the maps and the timetables. But
But for the rest of it, there's not.
yeah, it's actually the transit serves a lot of road miles that people don't know that they can stop. The bus can be flagged down at any place. So wherever we go, we're trying to get that word out, and people act surprised. So a call to dispatch is pretty simple, and they'll be looking out for the passenger.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything?
Any further council comment? Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Seeing Mr. Crowitz, is he here? Or?
Robert Packinger came and got him, pulled him out, I guess, of emergency or something.
All right, Mr. Hannan, would you like to give the city report?
And I'm Planning Director for the City of Angels. Not too much to report tonight. We're kind of like in a hold session with our PSR project. We just got word from Caltrans that we can't start till July 1, so we got to wait for that. Other than that, our sustainability grant is in its final phases and final document. We've looked at an admin draft. We've worked out some of the bugs on some of the areas, and hopefully we'll have the document to the Planning Commission, I think probably in June, and to the Council in July. We're hoping for May, but there's a lot of reworking of some areas, so we want to make sure we get that right before we send it to the Commission. So those are the two sidewalk projects. The trail project, we're moving forward. We're just finalizing some more stuff with Caltrans. It's amazing how much information they need in terms of that. We've just finalized. We just resubmitted the contracts and to local assistance that we've already submitted. We verified the DBE, which we submitted the first time, so we had to do it a second time. So we're doing that, and so But they have been doing the survey, and we have been doing stakeholder meetings, and so we're moving forward, and hopefully we're done with all the Caltrans requirements in terms of paperwork, and I mean, we will in terms of reimbursement, but that we can move forward and with the stuff. So other than that, the city just received an application for Mark Twain Medical Clinic, the new one. Hopefully third time's the charm. So we'll be working with them on that, and we're finalizing our last entitlement for Dollar General, and then hopefully they'll be able to start here in the next 2 or 3 months, start construction, and then we are working. The staff is working with some master developers, looking at the partnership planning grant area that we're talking about, and potentially, hopefully, maybe be able to, surprise someone to make an investment, or try to anyway. And our project, our final subdivision project, they're selling houses, so I think they've sold like 6 or 7 now, and they've pulled about almost half the permits, and so it's looking pretty good. So other than that, unless you have any questions on any projects, I'd be happy to answer, or if you have anything going on with the city, so I'd be happy to answer. So.
Council? No? Thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Baker, would you mind giving the Caltrans report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few things to report, and then follow up on some of the items from last month. May is Bike Month, so.
Did you write?
No, and I forgot my tie. I had to stop at a thrift shop and buy a new tie. It's 25 cents after the 50% discount. The big news is that SB 1 passed. There'll be funding for maintenance long term that will also benefit the local agencies. The big issue within Caltrans is, what if we actually got the money? And then you have to turn around and figure out how you're going to make that all work. The big emphasis within that program is going to be on our 4 core, what we call the SHOP programs, pavement, culverts, bridges, and TMS. That's the information elements of the system. So in looking at how we take in this money, and we also implement that asset management approach that we've been talking about, essentially what we are calling our anchor projects. We'll be looking at those 4 programs, looking at the biggest needs in what we call the Strategic Highway Management Plan. Essentially, it's our long-term maintenance plan. To find those acre projects, and then look at what we're calling the satellite needs within those same programs that are within the project area to combine. And then the third step will be looking in your plans, in your RTP and your bike plans, looking for opportunities to bring local needs as we build those bigger projects. But the thing to keep in mind is that the seed of all that has to be on those 4 core programs. Essentially, that's the emphasis in the legislation itself, is that Caltrans is to use this money to get our roads in good shape, and those are the core areas to do that. The next thing was to congratulate the COG on getting funding for the Murphy's Sustainable Communities Grant. That'll be another opportunity to work with the county and look at needs and hopefully get improve eligibility for some of that grant funding that can be used to get the active transportation program money flowing. Then I guess from there, let's go to the questions from last month. So we had a question on I guess, oh, all right. The answer is kind of a stretch from where we started. There was a question about why the beacons was being delayed. Apparently, the contractor was unable to get the poles to do the project. Took them 16 weeks to get the poles.
He started. The work has started.
Good.
Yes.
Good to know.
Started last week.
Awesome. On the, there was just a clarification on the High School Street. We had a request to look at a speed signal, or a speed survey, a traffic signal, a speed survey, and a safety investigation. We just want to make sure the signal warrant goes to our traffic operations. The other two, the speed survey and the safety investigations, go to our traffic safety. So we provided that information to Jeff. And again, those are all things that we can look at. We simply need a request and get those to the right people. There was a question about beautification of the area around the signal boxes at Murphy's, State Route 4 and Tom Bell Road. So the area just downhill from where the scales are. I guess it's not downhill as much as west of where the scales are. That can be brought in as a permit application. Our landscape architecture people will review that, but we don't have a particular criteria for that. If it was going to be some sort of gateway monument with signage for a gateway, then yes, we have a program to deal with things like that. But essentially, a community group could work with the county to bring in a permit application. We would require a maintenance agreement. So if there was going to be sprinklers and landscaping there, then the county would need to work with them to provide that assurance that it would be maintained. Vista del Lago signal. The question was, when would they start? The true answer is they never stopped. It was in winter suspension. They actually started last year. But they're expecting May 31st.
I got that information and passed it on
Yeah.
to the local newspapers too, so thank you.
Yep. There was a question about the shoulder on 4, just east of the 4 and 49 intersection in Angels Camp, whether that there could be a turnout for trucks there. And there could be. I have the criteria for that. Essentially, there needs to be adequate shoulder width, and there has to be enough length to create that. Since we're talking trucks, they're looking for 200 to 500 feet. Since we're talking trucks, we'd probably be pushing more towards 500. It looks like there's space. There's also questions about can you see to pull back out the line of sight. So that's not something that's on our radar. If we had a request, certainly that is something that I could submit to operations and traffic safety. In looking at it on Google, it looks like it might actually work better after the bridge.
Right.
Because there's a longer stretch there. You kind
Before
of have
the
to.
next bridge.
Like on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, like on the right
So,
hand
so
side.
if you were to come up the hill from the wagon trail and go straight, there is room just after you clear the intersection, where there's kind of a cut bank left to shield the noise from the houses down below. But once you cross the bridge, there's even a longer, wider area there. So That's something that could be done. They have to improve it to, highway section,
Right.
essentially, if you're gonna have trucks pulling out there.
Would we ask our executive director to send a letter to Caltrans District 10 for that?
Isn't there not an access gate there right after the bridge that's already somewhat?
I think
It's
it's
a
before the
fence.
bridge, isn't it?
Before the bridge.
Is it before the
Yeah.
bridge?
Before.
Yeah.
I think you know where the gravel is, and there was some portable toilets there for a while.
Yeah.
That's the cutoff from the old right where Larry coming off the 4.
So, I think it could come from the COG, it could come from the county also. Or actually, is that in the city?
I think it's in the
I
city.
think it is.
It's in your-
Yes,
it's
the
in
city.
City limits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you need to make the plan. I mean, when you look at that spot in and of itself, what's the need for a turnout? You really need to get the picture that this is a carryover from the wagon trail, or also from coming 49 into town. Yeah. That's it. I think.
Is there a way to look in the possibility for both sides, because they're coming from Copper, a lot of the trucks also park on right on 49 after the turn, going towards downtown.
Okay.
I don't think there's any space there though for a turnout.
No, not but before the turn. That's
So
Before
you're
the foundry?
so on the
Yeah,
uphill
before the foundry.
from the wagon
so
trail.
heading uphill
Yeah.
rather than down.
It's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of room there too, and actually that might be a little bit easier of a sell. It's straighter there, and I think you can make that one doesn't catch
49.
the 49 coming from
But
San
you've got a lot of
Andreas
people
traffic.
coming up 4 that way.
Um,
But what they do, they park this way, then they turn, and then park right there,
Yeah.
right after that right-hand turn.
The
And
oth-
they line up
They do,
on the
they line
side.
up right there.
Yeah.
They line up on the side there.
Yeah.
On Starbucks there.
yeah. The other way to potentially address that is to put it in the RTP. Um,
And I will let Amber.
So, that,
I can't even think of what the showing place is like.
yeah, I would say it would be a good idea to, put some Google Maps with some areas delineated and a little explanation of where you wind up with these people waiting in line and how it affects those various areas. Any other questions?
I have a question. With the passage of SB 1, it says the bill would annually set aside $200 million of the funds available for road maintenance in counties that have sought and received voter approval of taxes or that have imposed fees, including uniform developer fees as defined, which taxes or fees are dedicated solely to transportation improvements. Are we a county that qualifies to receive any of those funds?
That's a research project. My initial reaction is no. You do have developer mitigation fees, so I don't want to just say no. I think I need to research and understand it better. My initial impression was the idea there was really towards self-help,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the way you just read it
And that's,
seems to drag in.
okay.
These might
And
be
so
less
if we
than-
aren't, we need to actively pursue becoming a self-help county if we want to take from those funds, essentially.
Yeah.
Our rim fees don't qualify for that?
Well, like I said, I can, the problem with these bills is you got to get the questions and then sit down and start digging in them and thinking it. When I try to read it all and stuff it all in there, I can't carry it all. I have my little summary, but the truth is the summary isn't going to say that. I do have it, and I do have it on my list to just devote the time and read the whole thing, and we'll try that. The problem is, how much time do you want to put into studying this thing before it's actually signed? because where it goes from when it's proposed and then it's actually voted on and then signed is like, well, you don't know
So this is not,
what the deals are. But now I'm
it's
at
not finalized yet, or it is?
oh, it's signed now.
It is,
No,
okay.
no,
It's
signed-
law
signed
now.
last week.
So that's why it's important that I get into the details and
Okay.
really try to understand it all.
Yeah, they start collecting in November, so we'll start seeing
Yeah.
the money in 18,
Yeah.
fiscal year 18.
18, yeah.
So the intention is that this will be a lot of money coming into Caltrans. We're going to have to do some hiring. We're going to be working with consultants. So there's going to be a big push for project delivery.
To assist, I just been with CSAC up in Sacramento, and we did discuss SB1. Part of it was the self-help counties already been identified. We are not
Okay.
a self-help county.
There you go.
But it would require an action of the board to bring that to the ballot if we desire to go in that direction. And a 1/4 cent sales tax increase would be all that would be required to do it. But if we don't provide some leveraging here through
Yeah.
that sales tax, there's no self-help money available to us.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what the definition of self-help, is it just having the money in reserves, or is it actually doing some type of action? You
It's
know,
a-
it's pretty vague.
It's a local tax. Essentially, it would be a tax that's specific to the city and county, to the region, to fund transportation. When you look at the really big picture of where transportation funds come in California, a huge chunk is through self-help, through local taxes. Of course, that also isn't just road money. That includes the transit taxes that they have in the big cities, and there's a lot of different forms of that kind of taxation. So, that's another one. Is there is a large. I don't really have to say this in Calaveras County. You've done so well with the grant programs, but there's a huge chunk, $25 million a year, is going to transportation planning grants. The program last year had $9.3 million. In saying that there's going to be $25 million for local transportation planning grants, I need to see exactly how that gets sliced up as to whether it all goes into the grant programs that we know. I'm sure there's all of these things is, you dream what you'd do if you had money, and then when you actually have the money, then wow, it's time to get to work. So exactly how that works out. But the truth is it should improve things for agencies trying to get some help doing planning for the kinds of projects that we've been seeing, San Andreas and 4 and 49 and the Main Street grant and now the Murphy's grant. So.
I guess I have one more question to add to that. Being that we are not a self-help county, is there a time frame if we decided to become a self-help county, or are we not even able to get into this program because we haven't done it before this was implemented?
And that's, you get to the point where I have to read the text of the bill.
Right.
And it's entirely possible that's not even in the text of the bill. That will be in some regulation that is, subsequent to the bill. But I'll write it down and do my best to get you an answer.
Thank you very much.
I'd also be curious to know if it has to be a sales tax, or if it can be an allocation from a different tax.
There's different kinds. There's been, I think, where they've taken transit occupancy tax and devoted it
That's
to
what I was gonna
transportation,
ask about, yeah.
things like that. So,
Cool.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl. Don't take us.
I don't have Jeff's report, but there was like a water main break or something happening outside, so that's what he went out to address, so,
Right here, over
yeah,
there?
somewhere nearby. So I think it was CPUD, and he didn't leave me with any instructions on anything to report, so I'll take a pass. For tonight, unless you have questions, I might be able to answer. Okay? All right,
Thank you.
sorry.
Thanks,
Sir.
Kelly.
Okay, council reports.
Question.
Sure.
Will we be, and I'm assuming maybe next month, have an agendized item regarding the audits and how they impact the COG?
Yeah, will come out on the agenda. We're looking into it right now. It was direction from the council last month to review that, and it's still under review with the county auditor, Ms. Gallen, and how to move forward with that.
Cool. Thank you.
But yeah, it's definitely actively being looked at. Council reports, Ms. Communities.
I'm good.
Anything else? Mr. Calmano?
Sunday in West Point from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're having a plant sale at the community garden, and all are welcome to come.
I don't have anything.
Last month, I think it was the 19th or the 20th, I attended a league meeting down in Sacramento, and the governor did a surprise show up and talked about, made his announcement about SB1. So everyone was pretty applauding that, and it was pretty much it was a short and sweet speech about SB1, and I think it ended up on Channel 3. So I think everyone saw it on the 6 o'clock news that night. And then I met with Berry Hill staff and just talked about more mountain cities and counties and some of the mandates that are coming down from the state, variety of different topics, and just how one size doesn't fit all. So it just had a kind of a heart-to-heart with the staff that what they're doing down there doesn't necessarily mean that the mountain cities and counties can always agree to those mandates, because it's different rules around here with geography. So that is all I have to report.
Ms. Herman?
Let's see, I have a very large ant here. Anyway, there's going to be food trucks, a special day food trucks at Utica Park on third Saturdays. I was trying to look at ACPA, but to find out if it starts in May or not. But I think it's the third Saturday, but you want to check it out. Sounds like it's going to be music, and the food trucks from all over the place will be there. So it's going to be a really great event.
I think
All
May
summer.
27th.
I think it's May. I think it starts in May and goes through the summer. Yeah.
And then we'll be having a farmer's market too.
Yeah.
Another time.
Yeah. Everybody come.
I have nothing further to report. So staff reports.
I just had a couple of items I wanted to update the council. The recruitment committee met, and we flew the job flyer. We sent it to Rural Counties Task Force, Tuolumne, Amador, Alpine, SJCOG. We currently have it on our website. We've sent it to California COGS. We're sending it to CSAC and League of Cities next week. And we also have it flying in local papers, the Union Democrat and Enterprise. We have 2 RFPs that should close this Friday, and I just wanted to let the council know on the June meeting, we'll have a capital improvement database presentation on city, county, and COG projects, and then we'll have a standing item after that on every agenda to update where we are on project delivery.
Good. Thank you.
And what is your goal?
What's that?
And what is your goal?
Yeah,
What is your mission?
plan, fund, deliver.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Did you have any?
Have that on a plaque and
We're
put it
gonna
above
get
your
a
desk?
flyer, we're gonna get a big banner, and we're gonna put it on the wall behind you.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Ms. Davis?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Jim? Okay.
We have a report where Amber is?
She is at the Transportation Planning Conference in Walnut Creek.
Very nice. Tell her we expect a report next month from her.
she'll bring us another presentation. Yeah,
That sounds good.
yeah.
Okay. With that, item number 18 is adjournment. The next scheduled meeting of the COG is June 7th at 5:30 here in these chambers. Thank you very much.